All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Close. We are live, and what a crazy day it has been. Not only a crazy day, but a crazy week. But today has been pretty wild. Folks, it looks like, first of all, we got a lot of headlines to talk about. We got a lot of stuff to discuss. We had Tom Lee on CBC. We'll get his thoughts on what's going on. Steve will be on at about 4:30, and we'll hear from him. But overall, equities look like they're going to end out green. It looks like we are going to end out green. It has been a pretty wild 24 hours, primarily because if you happen to be awake at 2:30, 3 a.m., you saw stocks really take a nosedive. S&P 500 was closer to 655. Right now, we're at 664. In the morning, you really had a bunch of chop. I think we had 50 different green versus red movements teetering and tottering on that green or red on the S&P 500. We almost had 25 different intraday highs versus intraday lows. I mean, it's the most choppiest it's ever been. And it looks like we're ending out up 0.5%. If we do end out at 664 on the S&P 500, we'll actually be up 0.6% for the week. We started at 660. We might end at 664. So even in the midst of all the volatility, the VIX, which spiked up all the way to 25, closed above 25 yesterday, right now at 21.48, down about 15%. If you did buy some puts on the VIX around that 23, 24 timeframe, those are working out. That has led to some of this volatility coming down. A lot of that volatility coming from the regional banks, a lot of that volatility coming from China. And we have some updates on all that stuff. But nonetheless, one could argue it did create a buying opportunity today across the board. And if you bought anything, and let me know in the chat if anyone bought anything, you are likely getting a little bit of momentum. Palantir right there, 178. Robinhood got all the way down to 125.60. That's at 130. NVIDIA got down to 179. That's at 183. SoFi, we got some updates on SoFi, 26.69. That got down to 26 today. Grab got all the way to 554. Still not green on the day, but 564. So that is up. Reddit right there, 2% on the day down. Amazon still down at 212. That got all the way to 211. I mean, not every stock recovered. Bitcoin, for example, got to 103. It's nice that it's at 106, but it's not necessarily recovering back into the 110s like it was in a couple days ago. It was at 110, 112. Ethereum as well, just at 3,800. Bitmain got all the way down to 47. I did buy a little bit at 49.50, just a little bit. Not a crazy amount, just a little bit, 49.50. Took a little bit of a nibble, but that's it. And now we're at 50.81. So, I mean, look, could this thing collapse down below 45? Yes, it would really depend on ETH. Do I think ETH is bottoming here? I don't know, but I do think 37, 3,800 is kind of where it's probably going to not necessarily fall through unless you have something else happen in the macro. But as a result of that, you got BMNR at least above 50, which is not too bad. Again, still red on the day, but only red by 0.5% versus being down at the 47s. Coinbase green on the day. CoreWeave down 4%. This one did bounce off 129 at 136, so it's better than being at 129, but still down from 140. You got the NASDAQ right there up about 0.7%. And then you got CrowdStrike. That's a 0.54% on the day. Just a crazy week and a crazy day. Nebius bounced off 110. It's at 114, not at 120 like it was in the morning, but still not the worst given it's at 110. In terms of the rare earths, these stocks still red for the day. CRML is the only one that ended up going green. The rest of them are red for the week, red for the day. Regional banks are all green. And the reason regional banks are green, and I can't stress this enough, every single regional bank that reported today, including Truist Financial, said their their provision for credit losses were lower by about $50 to $100 million than what Wall Street expected, which is really good to make sure we don't have a credit problem in this country. KeyBank and Western Alliance had some issues yesterday, but one could argue that those are isolated issues. Now, maybe they're not. I don't think there's enough data, but based on the data we got from the regional banks today, it might not be the worst thing in the world. So you got the regionals that are all green because they're kind of rebounding from the fears that we had yesterday. And then the Bitcoin miners turned data centers, those are all red, pretty much all red. I mean, they're recovering a little bit. Farm's not really recovering at all. That one, I mean, it bounced at 468, but still below $5. Iran, at least it's not at 54, it's at 60, but still down from 74 where it was in the morning. And then Oklo, of course, this stock is just always green. So Oklo, still green on the day. So it was just one of those days. It was one of those days. There's not even that much explanation for it. You got some quotes from Trump. He had a meeting with Zelensky. We'll watch some clips of that. You had the regional crisis. Everyone gave their thoughts on that. It doesn't look like it's going to be that big of a deal. And then you had Besant in the morning talk about China and basically de-escalate the situation with China. Even Trump talked about China this morning and said that he's not going to put 100% tariffs on China. Explicitly, he said that. Then when he was taking Q&A during the Ukraine meeting, he said he reserves the right to implement the tariffs quicker than on November 1st. Again, it's almost like he's just saying things now to try to gain leverage. And, it might not necessarily be something he actually wants to do. But I think you have all those headlines running around, along with the fact that September and August were really good, and you're probably going to get a bit of volatility going into October seasonally, and after you have those massive runs for 2 months in a row, they're taking a bit of a breather. And it seems like that's what we've got going here. Rach says this volatility makes me all the more bullish because it's just manufacturer manipulation trying to shake out the weak hands before record earnings. Yeah, I mean, look, that's another argument that I think is very fair. We are going to get into a week. I mean, we've already had record earnings. Here's a stat for you guys that's really interesting. The S&P 500 on a price basis is up 0.1% over not the stock price, but the actual price to earnings basis over the past year from 2024. The actual earnings growth is 11%. So you have a 1% movement on the PE, and you have an earnings growth, like the actual percentage of the growth year over year. I think it's like from 270 to 295 or something, closer to 11%. So all of the expansion on the S&P 500 has not been primarily just the price of the S&P 500 going up. It really has been earnings multiples expanding because the earnings have been good enough to justify the expansion. And if that continues going into the end of the year, I think that's going to be exciting. That's going to be very, very exciting. We just have to see if that is what we get going to Q3. BM&R right there getting a little bit of a dip right now below 50. You got Google 0.61, Grab 1.28%, Palantir going flat on the day, and then Tesla 2.2%, 438.47 on the day. S&P 500 again 664. This is what Trump had to say on Zelensky and Ukraine during the meeting today.
We're not losing people. The United States is not, we're not losing people. We're not spending money. We're getting paid for the, ammunition and missiles and everything else that we're sending to the European Union, but to NATO. But it's very similar. If you look at the countries, it's very similar. And we just made a very fair trade deal with the European Union and what we wanted, and we made a very good deal with NATO too. They pay for all of this. That's not what we're in this for. We're in it to save thousands of lives every week. Thousands and thousands of lives. That's why we're in it.
And then this is what Trump said about his meeting with Putin.
To be determined, but I would say most likely it's going to be a double meeting. It'll be a double meeting, but we will have the president, Zelensky, in touch. There's a lot of bad blood with the two presidents, and I'm not speaking out of turn when I say it. It's a very difficult situation. We just settled the war, and after thousands of years, I guess. People say anywhere from 500 to 3,000 years, and I was in rooms, as you saw, because you were with me. A lot of you were with me last week with leaders that didn't like each other, but they were able to get along. These two leaders do not like each other, and we want to make it comfortable for everybody. So one way or the other will be involved in threes, but it may be separated.
And then this is the last clip right here where Trump ended up letting one of those words out.
Maduro offered everything in his country, all the natural resources. He even recorded a message to you in English recently, offering mediation. What should we do in order to stop that?
He has offered everything. He's offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to fuck around with the United States. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Maduro.
The last time Trump used that word was when he was talking about the Israel conflict, and he said these guys don't know what the F they're doing. So you could tell that this situation is obviously making him passionate, but that overall press conference didn't necessarily have that much of an impact on the market. I mean, based on what he said and based on how he answered the questions, markets didn't care that much. So overall, whatever volatile events people expected today in regards to Trump talking, options expiring, etc., I mean, you got the chop back and forth, but you do have the S&P 500 that looks like it still will close up about 0.56% of the day. Here's another stat that's really important to understand, or maybe not really a stat, but more so the logic underlying the statistic. All of us have heard that Q4, historically, you tend to get a 4.7% rally. A 4.7% rally every time, historically, Q4 tends to average out almost a 5% gain. Something I heard today kind of made me think about this. And I mean, this could be bearish or this could be bullish, the way you interpret it. But One of the reasons Q4 tends to be so good is because August and September tend to suck. So what happened this year? August and September didn't suck. And so it makes you wonder a little bit, okay, the reason Q4 tends to be so good is because it kind of gets a setup from a crappy August and September, and then you get a rally into all-time highs and you get all this money piling in towards the end of the year. If the all-time high has already been hit, or really we got close to it in 2 months where historically it's supposed to be weak. Now, one could argue that because we had that 30% drawdown in April, that's why April and September were strong. Maybe Q4 doesn't have to have the same seasonal return that you've had in the past. And really, it comes down to earnings growth. I think that's going to be the fundamental question. If that can't be denied, then we probably will get to those all-time highs. But I do think the market's exhausted. I really do. I think crypto's exhausted. The market's exhausted. I mean, speaking of exhausting, gold is freaking exhausted. Take a look at gold today. Lows of the day, 1.58%. It actually got below 4,200 at one point, so it's not exactly at the lows of the day. And then silver down about 4%. I think Hood is exhausted. I think Nebius is exhausted. I think a lot of these stocks are exhausted. And the exhaustion potentially is giving a lot of people a great buying opportunity, or, there might be some more exhaustion left. But nonetheless, I think exhaustion is the theme of the market this week, just like resiliency was the theme of the market for the past couple of weeks. And that's okay. I don't think that's the worst in the world. Where is HIMS? This one had a pretty rough day. Wow, 15%. I have not looked at HIMS for the past 2 hours. Last time we looked at it was at 54. Is this really all because of the CEO selling thing that's pissing people off? No, it has to be because of Trump and what he said about Ozempic. Is Lilly in the same situation? Lilly is down 2%. Novo, that's a stale boner. Yeah, that might be a stale. Novo right here down 3%. I mean, all the pharmaceuticals in that GLP space are down, but HIMS is just wrecked. Wrecked. I don't think it's because of the CEO selling and the whole Twitter controversy we talked about in the morning, but again, I don't think it's a good look, and you might have some people that are pissed off about it. But I feel like I just don't know if that's enough of a reason for why you're seeing that sell-off. NVIDIA right there, 183. NVIDIA actually being a good performer today, up about 1%, which is nice to see. AMD right there, that's down about 0.5%. Broadcom, that also is down about 1.2, but it bounced at 340, which is not too bad. A couple quick headlines, and then we get the market close, and then we'll hear what we have from Tom Lee. SoFi, international money transfers are live. SoFi members who joined our waitlist will start gaining access to send money to Mexico directly from their SoFi checkings and savings account, with more countries on the way. Not many banks allow you to have the ability to send cash that quickly with worldwide money transfers. So it's nice to see SoFi update a ton of different press releases over the past couple of days in anticipation of the earnings that are going to be coming up soon. And it looks like that's what you got from SoFi as we get into their earnings that is going to be happening next week. So I thought that was also nice to see. And then Starbucks is potentially thinking of selling off their China business. I thought this was inevitable. I mean, at the end of the day, China is a big market for Starbucks, but it's also super competitive in China. So they are taking offers right now to the tune of about $10 billion potentially to sell off that China business. Starbucks up about 1% on the day. Wouldn't be the worst idea, but we got to see if that is how this ends up playing out. Yeah, maybe they sell it to Luckin Coffee. Maybe that's what they do. All right, folks, there we go. It has been a wild week, emotional week across the board. At the end of the day, if you're an investor and you have capital that is compounding in the markets, that is what matters. And most of us are still up a lot year to date. We'll do the year-to-date percentages as well at the close. But nonetheless, we survived another week. There you go. Friday, October 17th, 4 p.m. The stock market is now closed. We are done. We are done. Friday, we are done with another week in the stock market. We have 10 weeks left. 10 weeks left of the year. Not just 10 weeks left for Q3 or Q4. We have 10 weeks left of 2025, which is freaking crazy. But that is what you got. All right, S&P 500, 0.5% of the day, 664. Not too bad. Basically up 0.5% for the week. NVIDIA, that's up 1%. Tesla up 2.5. Palantir, that's flat on the day. Robinhood gets the 130 close. SoFi, 2658. AMD, 232. Google, 253. Grab gets a 563 close. Reddit, 2%. Amazon crushed this week, 213. I did buy a lot more Amazon this week. And we're going to see what they deliver on earnings. Salesforce down 1%. Meta, 716 on the close. PayPal actually up 2% on the day. Not too bad after their $300 trillion mistake with their stablecoin. ELF, that's up 1%. Apple was actually up 2% of the day after that Formula One deal. SMCI down 3%. ETH, 3,800. Bitcoin, 106. AppLovin, that was down about 1%, just below 600. Circle up 1.4, down 1.4. Enphase down 2.3. And then Microsoft flat on the day, actually up 0.39% on the day, back in that 510 to 515 range. And then again, S&P 664. Rocket Lab, how did that get the close on the day? 66, okay, slightly down. ASTS 83, down from 102. Whereas Lemonade, which Lemonade made some headlines today saying they would license or they would cover all the insurance for Tesla FSD. Some people thought of it as a joke. Some people thought of it as a cool idea. Lemonade is an insurance company. And I think the CEO tweeted that they're offering to handle all the Tesla FSD miles driven underneath Lemonade for free. I don't fully understand exactly what he was saying, but that stock right here up 1.3% on the day. Oscar right here down. Wow, Oscar 8% hit. Didn't look at Oscar for the past couple hours either. That one got kind of wrecked. And then HIMS 49.72, 16% down on the day. 16% down on the day. Not sure why Oscar had that big of a drop. Maybe it had to do with some of the subsidies, but HIMS right there, 15.89. And then BMNR, did we get a $50 close? We got a 49.79 close on BitMine. And that is what we got. Quantum names, QBTS was down 8% when I checked. Actually recovered. Now only down 3%. So that one caught a bit of a bid. Same thing probably with the other ones. IONQ and Rigetti, yeah, only down 3.6%. Again, the Bitcoin miners, Rigetti was down about 3. Bitcoin miners, rare earth stock still down other than CRML. Bitcoin miners, they were flat to red, but still red mostly, not as red as they were earlier in the morning, which is good to see. And then the regionals were kind of the winners of the day, rebounding from what they took yesterday as well. All right, let's do it. Year-to-dates. Year-to-dates, what do we got? Year-to-dates, it has been a wild couple of weeks. My year-to-date is now 142.79%. 142.79. If you remember 2 weeks ago, it was at 208%. So that 208 drops all the way down to 142. Obviously, I'm taking it on the chin as well. But in the same context, it's 142%. It's just, you can't be that upset about it, even if it's an ugly decline from where it was a couple weeks ago. And I think that's the perspective that a lot of people have to have right here. Yeah, I'm still seeing above 40% for a decent chunk of people. Zocold's at 160, Moon's at 130. I see 76. Investing with Jeremy, 177. Codis, 28. Mohammed's at 30. Shrikant's at 78. Lee is at 50. Daniel's at 44. David, 111. Chris Miller, 41. Bavik, 107. Samish, 160. I mean, dude, these are still phenomenal. The S&P's at 10. So I know it's not as fun as it was a couple weeks ago, but also, and this is, I was telling my cousin this in the morning, it's like, it was really fun, but when it gets that fun, sometimes it's also not that real. Sometimes that is also a bit euphoric. And, I think I've been pretty transparent over the past couple of weeks saying, look, I like Robinhood at 150 for my portfolio, but I don't actually think they put up the earnings to justify getting there yet. But if the street wants to pay a multiple, cool, that's fine. But I'm not going to buy it there. And so it came back down to reality. It is what it is. But I don't think it's crazy to see some of these stocks take a little bit more of a breather. S&P is 10% year to date. I think so. Let me confirm. S&P year to date, 13.6. So if you're beating 13.6, basically 14%, you are doing okay. George's at 228. Brock's at 161. Christine Miller's at 91. D-Man's at 71. I mean, most people are still crushing it, right? And it puts it into perspective. If you are not someone who has compounded your assets above 14%, like 99.9% of the world that doesn't really invest, it's one thing to be up 200% or 300% last week or 80% last week, and now you're up 65%. Yes, that is a meaningful decline, but you've beat the S&P 500 by a delta of a lot if you're still up, even if you're not as up as much as you were last week. And I think that is the perspective that's very important to have on days like this. And it's also healthy to eventually get back to those all-time highs, because if you just go straight up in a line that's vertical, it tends to be a much more aggressive fall at the end. All right, that's what we got. That's what we got for Friday. Let's listen to Mr. Tom Lee, get his thoughts. Steve will be on in about 25 minutes. And let's see what Tom Lee has to say about everything that has gone on over the past week. Let's share this right here.
Daily.
Well, I heard the earlier segment, Scott, and I do think I'm kind of more in the Jamie Dimon camp, you know, that and Steve Leisman's point that there's opacity in private credit, and that's the problem that investors are going to grapple with for some time. And I think that, along with the trade tensions and, you know, the VIX spike, is the reason investors are a little cautious. But I don't think that's going to change that markets still have a lot of tailwinds into year end. And part of it is AI is like, I think demand is accelerating there. And we know that investors are sitting on a lot of cash, and institutional investors are really having a terrible year. Only 22% are beating the benchmark. So I think there's a bit of a chase. And then sentiment has flipped negative, which is always a contrarian buy signal. So, you know, I think despite this mounting wall of worries, including the shutdown, I think it sets us up for a pretty good rally into the end of the year.
It sounds, though, like this is enough on your radar that do you think it's at least changed the game in the near term for the market?
On the private credit?
Just overall, I mean, if there are continued issues in private credit and the leveraged loan market, then the stock market's not going to take that well. I mean, you wouldn't think.
Yeah, I mean, Scott, the only thing that I don't know is how many chapters it's going to take to play out, because, you know, I mean, there's opacity, which is what is scaring people, but then there's real credit deterioration, which I don't think that's what's happening, and I think that's why Adam and all those had called it idiosyncratic. I'm kind of in that camp because high yield spreads have behaved. So I think it's more of is the flow of capital, because I think one of the biggest sort of allocations for alternatives has been private credit. It's going to make investors pause that, you know, maybe this market it's not as easy a return as it looks.
You told me, I think, a couple of weeks ago that 7,000 on the S&P by the end of the year was realistic. You still think that we could get another 5%? That's what it looks like. It's 5% between now and then. Do we have that in us?
Scott, I mean, 5% is just an average fourth quarter from 1950 to 2024. But we have the Fed easing after an extended pause. So that's 1998 and 2024. So I think that 5% might be the base case. I bet you it's going to end up being more like 7 or 8% or even possibly 10%. So I think 7,000.
AKA, Tom Lee still thinks we're above 7,000. I mean, meaningfully above if we get a 10% return from here by the end of the year.
Is the low end of what we can end the year at.
Wow. And how much do earnings have to do with that?
I mean, earnings are going to matter, but, you know, it's been a good start. I mean, we're barely into earnings season. The banks have been good. 82% of companies are beating. There's a lot more visibility of demand and then less concerns about tariffs because we're kind of working our way through it. So companies have a better sort of visibility over the next 12 months. I think the outlooks are going to be good, and I think that's going to help stocks. And, you know, I think there's a lot of room for multiples to still expand. So I don't think this market's that demanding.
I think it's interesting that you suggest that you'd be a buyer of regional banks and small caps. Why are you willing to do that? That's not putting your toe in the water. That's like putting the bathing suit on and jumping in. Why?
Well, I mean, Scott, you know, I know there's a lot of muscle memory for people from 2023, and that was because of a big change in rates that really caught a lot of banks offside just in their business model. That doesn't mean that this crisis, which is underwriting being done properly, should have the same issue. So I think that there has been a throw the baby with the bathwater out on the regional banks and the small caps. So yes, I think despite the fact that the Russell had a rough week, I think they're really going to be one of the beneficiaries. I mean, even on earnings basis, small cap earnings are going to grow 48% in the third quarter. That's like 4 times, 5 times bigger than the S&P. So I think there's still a lot of growth left there.
So Tom's still banging the table on IWM and KRE. IWM being small caps, KRE being regional banks. Now, KRE is actually a big part of IWM, which is why IWM has taken a hit over the past couple of days because KRE got hit. But Tom's saying there's not a credit problem, or he's not necessarily saying that. He's saying there might not be as structural of a credit problem as people think. And based on the companies that reported today in the regional banking sector, to him, it's a buy the dip, and it might be isolated to a couple different banks. And if that is the case, then maybe regionals do present a more asymmetric upside opportunity, along with small caps, given the earnings growth they could deliver against the S&P.
What's the message in crypto right now, Tom? Bitcoin is down today. It's 107,000 right now. What's going on there?
I think there's a couple of things. One is there was a big deleveraging last week because that VIX spike and the tariff headlines triggered the biggest liquidation and deleveraging in crypto ever in history. So I think that people are still licking their wounds. And I think that there's also a bit of gold envy because, as you know, gold has been a huge performer this year. In fact, there's people waiting in line to buy gold. So I think that there is a bit of like, I'd rather own gold than crypto. So I think this is not the top of the crypto cycle, but I think leveraged longs in crypto are near record lows. So I think it's kind of like we're at the basement and working our way back up.
Okay. We'll see if we get there and if we're walking or taking an elevator. Tom, thanks. Enjoy the weekend, Tom Lee.
Thank you.
All right. So, I mean, look, same argument that Tom has been making for the past couple months now. Look, I don't think he's saying anything egregious by any sense of the imagination. And we talked about this when he tweeted it in the morning. Like, if we're trying to think from first principles, like realistically from first principles, what is the major reason the stock market took a dip this week? I chalk it up to what Tom Lee says, which is markets are a bit exhausted and they wanted to take a breather. The China stuff, maybe that's an issue on a perception basis, not really an issue because China says they don't want to decouple from the US. US doesn't want to decouple with China. Deleveraging, what he talked about last week in crypto, that's actually the reason why Bitcoin and Ethereum are probably down. I don't think it's people stopped believing in Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's just that $20 billion got liquidated in the span of less than 24 hours. And, you probably got some people that are a little bit scared to get back in it right now. And that will likely change over time, but that could be what's depressing crypto markets. The cockroach fears from private credit that JB Diamond has been talking about might not be as structural as people think. And then I've shared multiple charts over the past couple of weeks around October being one of the most volatile months of the year, especially after September and August have been so good to us, that you're going to get a bit of weakness. And when you have an Oklo running up 5% every day for no reason, probably is going to get a little bit of a pullback. And I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. It's a volatility shakeout. A bit of a volatility shakeout. These are the updates for the stock draft. Matt Money still 44.72%. He is green, whooping everybody's ass. I'm at 36%. Steven is at 6.2. Tanner is at 19.74. And Christopher Patel is at 11.3. Matt right there, 44.2%. We got Tanner in the chat. It is Tanner's birthday today. We called him on the market open, so everyone can wish Tanner a very, very happy birthday. He says, it's crazy to see such a community. It's hard to explain how appreciative I am. Thanks for the B-Day wishes. Tanner is 10 days older than me. So he is officially 28, and I will be joining him pretty soon. And it's cool. It's really cool to be celebrating not only this entire journey with him, but also just, it's fun to have a friend in the industry and to be doing this thing together. Speaking of friends in the industry, and a friend that, as you guys can see right there on the screen, is objectively kicking Tanner and I's ass with a 44.72% return. It's not his birthday, but he is always making money. Ladies and gentlemen, a surprise appearance on a Friday market close for Mr. Matt Money. Matt, what's up?
Ladies, gentlemen, Mr. Mitt, thank you so much. Happy to be here. Happy birthday, Tanner. Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday. When's your birthday?
May 17th.
All right,
I'm old.
I remember.
I'll be.
You were on Rocket Lab Weekly on your birthday.
That's what it was. Yeah, they were launching a rocket for my birthday. That's right.
That's like correct. That. I remember that.
Yeah, that's fun. Very good. Yeah, man, it's crazy. I'm kind of with Tom, man. I can kind of understand where people are coming from. It's so interesting though, because you feel like you're on I don't know. I've been cautious about we're going to hit some sort of peak in crypto. I don't think we're there. So I'm with Tom in that respect. But at the same time, you're seeing this low sentiment in the cryptocurrency market. But at the same time, you're still seeing so many people wanting to pile into things like BMNR and things alike. And I think that those would be great opportunities long term. I personally am staying out because I do think we're entering kind of the back end of sort of a crypto crypto cycle, bullish cycle, I mean. But I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see what ends up happening for folks and the cryptocurrency market going into 2026.
Okay, so what are your overall thoughts on the choppiness that we've seen over the past week? So last Friday, we took a 3% drawdown. We recovered pretty much all of it by Monday. I mean, we were less than 0.5% away, and now we gave it all back. I mean, how is the crypto markets? What is your rationalization for why we lost that momentum? And do you think the loss of that momentum stops a Q4 rally towards the end of the year?
I think that there's still going to be a lot of momentum going into the fourth quarter, but I think where the easy money has been made in some of these non-revenue producing companies, I think people need to be cautious. And that's been something I've been talking about in Cashflow Chronicles for a couple of weeks now. You know, I'm happy that people are making money, and I understand where people are at. I think we're in a very similar place, not exactly analogous to 2021, but very comparable in the respect that there's a lot of cool companies that are coming out, right? I mean, I think back in 2021, it was kind of the thought process about AI and what's going to be kind of coming through, and that's when you had people starting to think about, okay, well, what's the Palantirs of the world going to look like, et cetera. You saw that large jump up in late 21. And then throughout 2022, we had this extensive drawdown for some of these companies that weren't really producing yet. I feel like you're going to see a lot of that in nuclear, quantum, and a few others. It's not to say that they're bad companies. Some of these companies will eventually be like a Palantir. There'll be a Phoenix that rises through on the other side and eventually does come out with great market cap realization and ends up growing beyond where their valuations are even today. But I think that there's unfortunately a lot of companies out there that are just riding onto the momentum that just don't warrant it. But overall, I still think that there's a lot of. Does
that scare you? Does that scare you at all for this market?
It scares me for the people that aren't ready for it. So I'm okay. I don't think that for me, I think that my portfolio is set up like if a Rocket Lab goes in halves by 50%, it goes down 60%, that's okay. Because I feel like I'm in one of the better names in space, right? But if you're in, say, some sort of auxiliary company that may or may not actually show up and be able to deliver, I think, you need to kind of consider that. So, I think a lot of people have been able to buy into things that are around Rocket Lab. Rocket Lab's actually been able to deliver. They've delivered 73 rockets to space in some way, shape, or form. They're about to launch a different rocket, but not specifically going into that detail. But there's a lot of companies that have now been able to ride on the coattails of that and been able to get, $5, 10, $15 billion market caps. And I'm not calling out ASTS specifically. I still think that there's a lot of potential associated with that. But I still think even still, maybe that one's even run. It's even now a larger market capitalization than Rocket Lab, and they have yet to really even get their latest satellites into space. So it's just it's analogous to 2021. I think you're seeing a lot of these companies run a good bit, but it's not to say that you're not delivering in other spaces. NVIDIA is still delivering. You still have a lot of capital expenditure with all these big seven companies. And so I don't think by any means we're at the end of the business cycle associated with it, but I think the easy money's been made, and I feel like you're running a little bit on fumes, if that makes sense, right? So that's just my thought process, and I think I'm okay because I'm not really, other than Rocket Lab, and maybe you could consider potentially Palantir, I'm not really overexposed to some of these more speculative names. So.
I would agree. I mean, I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense right there. For those that don't know, first of all, there's Matt's Twitter, so everyone please make sure to give Matt a follow on Twitter. For those that don't know Matt's portfolio, he's been pretty transparent about it. I think your largest holding is still, correct me if I'm wrong, the S&P 500.
No, well, I mean, it was at one point, and I think we've had such success in Rocket Lab and Palantir that
Really, they outgrew the S. Okay, so what, S&P's top 5 then? Top
oh
3?
yeah, so, yeah, probably for certain. I think it's definitely top 3. Yeah.
Wow, Rocket Lab, Palantir, S&P. So the point I'm trying to make here is that like at the end of the day, you're not in Oklo as a top 3 position. You're in the S&P 500. So the S&P 500 could fall 10% and be flat year to date. And yeah, it would hurt, but it would not be one of those sizable drawdowns that could wreck an entire portfolio. And I think that's also important to understand. Momentum is a strong force. And when it takes these stocks up, it can really feel like, people can get rich overnight. But a lot of times that stuff fades, especially if there's nothing fundamental. And I think your point right here is that maybe it's starting to fade and it could come back. But if it fades away and like Opendoor, right, if people just aren't that excited about it anymore, then maybe there's nothing there. And ultimately, we're going to have to see how that ends up playing out towards the end of the year. What do you think right now about, well, actually, let me show this headline right here. This came out 20 minutes ago, guys. NVIDIA and TSM just unveiled the first US-made Blackwell chip at TSMC's Arizona's plant. That's actually very exciting to see. That's from Axios. NVIDIA's Jensen Huang called it the start of building the world's AI factories right here in America. That's an official quote by Jensen. So very nice to see some American manufacturing for the semiconductor ecosystem happening in America. Matt, what are your thoughts about this AI CapEx thesis, OpenAI with AMD and Broadcom and NVIDIA, TSM earnings? I mean, do you think this is a little too aggressive, or do you think CapEx is not slowing down?
This is where it gets a little bit boggy, because if you look at the share buybacks and you look at the total cash flow from operations from a lot of these companies, they're starting to run out of headroom. So if you saw where a lot of these companies were able to add so much cash to the balance sheet over the past 5 to 10 years, because they're just such great margin businesses, a lot of these companies like the Googles of the world have been doing $60 billion, $70 billion share buybacks, and they're making $100 and some billion a year in cash flow from operations. So they've continued to be able to grow their capex, and potentially even start dividends in the case of, say, Google. And now they're starting to say, okay, well, you're kind of hitting a peak now. You can't expand your share buybacks forever. You can't expand your capex forever. You can't expand your dividends forever. And now you can't go back on your word either, right? I mean, imagine Google coming out next year and being like, actually, we're only going to do 50 billion in buybacks this year. People are going to be like, what the hell's going on? Right. Yeah. So I feel like a lot of companies, unfortunately, are kind of putting themselves in a corner. Like I said, I don't think that you're going to see this massive capital expenditure cut, but you might see a slowdown, particularly on how much growth is happening in that area. So it's not to say that the NVIDIAs of the world are going to massively just like hit a 50% sort of revenue decrease or anything like that. But you're not going to see, I don't think, just one, partly because of the rule of large numbers, and then two, because I think people are running out of the additional budget within their cash flow from operations to continuously expand at the growth rates that we've had over the past, say, 2 to 3 years. So I'm kind of curious to see what ends up happening. I don't think it's going to show up in droves in the fourth quarter or even the third quarter. But I think that coming into next year, I think you're definitely going to start to see a slight pullback potentially in some of these companies and right sizing of, instead of just continuing to grow their capex, really just level it off.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And look, that capex leveling off is obviously going to be good for shareholders as it will help margins. Now, if the capex doesn't level off, it's really good for NVIDIA, but it also should hopefully be really good for Google and all these other companies because they're actually getting an ROI. Speaking of the Max 7, Matt, talk to me about this name because I recently got into it. You've been buying Amazon for God knows how many years, and I'm pretty sure you have a pretty heavy position in this name. What are your current thoughts on the trajectory of Amazon, the stock?
Yeah, I mean, Steve and I have chatted about this on and off. I think we both are in agreement. I think you mentioned it on a previous market close recently. Amazon will be $1 trillion revenue company within the next 5 years. And so it's like, okay, it's kind of like just why not buy something that's inevitable, right? If you want to make sure that you're going to be making money in the market and you have a kind of opportunity like this, and you can kind of put money somewhere safe, why not put it in something like an Amazon where that it's going to be safe? It's less than a $2.5 trillion market cap. It makes almost about as much in terms of actual cash flow as Google. And so Google's actually priced, I think, 20% higher in terms of a market capitalization of Amazon. But the reason why I think Amazon takes a hit is because there's so much infrastructure, there's so much warehousing, et cetera, that there's, unfortunately, when you look at the EPS on a GAAP basis, you have a lot of depreciation that gets fed into that. You have to depreciate your warehouses. You have to depreciate all the vehicles. You have to depreciate. And so when you look at it on an EPS basis, you're actually having a pretty big hit in terms of the actual net income. And so if you look at it on a cash flow basis, it really should be valued closer up to what Google's valued at. And not only that, but if you think about it, if this company really is going to be $1 trillion revenue business, there's really no reason why eventually in the next probably 10 years or so, it shouldn't be a $10 trillion company. Just with respect to the margins that they're getting in their AWS business, the continued growth they're getting in their AWS business, they're actually, now that they're really the main infrastructure of really how people shop in the United States and also abroad in Europe and other places, it's actually starting to generate money. If they're able to really hone in and get those margins up, you think about 1 or 2% on $1 trillion of just margin improvement is $10 to $20 billion in net income to the bottom line.
Yeah.
You throw a multiple on that, right? Of, let's just say 10 or 20 times, you're talking about $200 to $400 billion. And that's just a 1 or 2% increase on margins. And that's not even including potential growth on the top line. So you start to think about some of these things. And it's easy to see for me that Amazon will eventually be a $10 trillion company. So anybody that's sitting out here can say, okay, if it's eventually going to be a $10 trillion company, it's at about roughly 2.2 trillion today. If I just bought 1,000 shares and eventually it's going to go to $1,000 a share, which approximately equates to a $10 trillion market cap valuation, I'll be a millionaire. So if you think about it in that respect, it's like, if you're able to buy 1,000 shares today, which is $200-some thousand or so, eventually that will be $1 million. And that's kind of my goal right now, specifically for Amazon. I'm not there quite yet at 1,000 shares, but I'm getting closer every day. But yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's like, why not just buy something that's inevitable? I understand where some people are at with trying to find some of these things out there, like Oklo and some of these other speculative bets. How I kind of took one on Rocket Lab myself. But
Rocket Lab has revenue, which is the only
true. And at the time, it was a $2 billion market cap, but it already launched almost 20 Electron vehicles. So I mean, it was a little bit less speculative than I think some of these other companies. But the thing I'm trying to say is like, sometimes it's not bad to invest in something that is very low risk and is just executing, like a Google or Amazon.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not as fancy, maybe you don't want to tell people you're investing in Amazon. You'd rather tell them they're at the water cooler, you're investing in something, small modular reactors or something like that for nuclear.
Quantum internet stack.
Internet stacks. But at the same time, it's like, if you just push come to shove, buy something like Amazon. Amazon's inevitable, in my opinion. So why not?
Matt, let me show you this before we get another guest onto the show. This is a screenshot I just got sent by Zubair on X, and everyone can see this right here. If the zoom would work, those are 5,000 shares of Rocket Lab at $16 average. He's up 250 grand, and his message is, tell Matt this happened because of him.
It's awesome. The best gift that gentleman can give me is if he's on a beach somewhere, send me a picture of him on the beach and send it to my DMs. I love it when people message me and they're on vacation and they're like, thank you. And I'm like, that's what it's all about, right? It's about getting yourself away and giving yourself that mental freedom to, I don't want to say F you to your boss, but at the same time, it's like, get yourself into a place where you're meeting your objectives for what your portfolio is really set up for. And luckily Rocket Lab has been that. And don't thank me. I'm far from the person you need to thank. I'm just a shepherd and letting people know about the company. The real people that need to be thanked are the people at Rocket Lab, the people that are putting the rockets in the air. I'm just a guy sitting in an air-conditioned room here in Houston, right? Those guys are the ones that are legitimately doing rocket science. So
last quick question on Rocket Lab, and then we'll keep going from there. Is it overvalued right here? Let's call it $70.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to look at it on today's valuation for what revenue it is today, I could say, yeah, for sure. But the way I look at it is always 10 years down the road, right? And if you think about where we are in terms of the company and its moat, right? How many people can legitimately say they've launched 70 odd vehicles? How many people are going to be able to say that they have equipment right now on Mars? How many people can really say that their legacy companies that they have and acquisition and acquired rather have been experience in putting solar panels on the James Webb Telescope? Many, right? And so maybe you could say that there's other companies comparable like SpaceX, but I honestly believe that what you're witnessing is a true end-to-end space company. So what kind of value do you put on that? It's kind of like Palantir, right? What kind of value do you put on that, knowing that it helps supply the West with the technology it needs to support itself and defend itself? It's like almost priceless in that respect. Like if anybody's going to be able to help provide infrastructure into space, but if you look at it from sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. If you look at it from like what's the minimum of it, right? Say Neutron doesn't pan out, say some of these other things don't pan out, like the constellation that they want to put into space, right? You just look at it from an Electron perspective, you look at it from the space components business perspective. Even still, if you think about it, just to get a company like that up and going, you're going to need $15 to $20 billion as a moat, right? So in my opinion, that company should only be at a minimum 15 to 20 billion. And that's before you land the Neutron and get the Neutron up and going. If you think about if the Neutron's up and going, what kind of price tag would you put on a company like that? And it's probably north of $30 billion. So that's when you start to think like, okay, the downside here, okay, yeah, 15, 20 billion. There's 500 million shares outstanding. So just multiply the stock price by double, it gets you to about what the market cap is, right? So if you think about it in that respect, it's like, or divided by 2 rather, that's about what the market cap would be. So if you were to take a $60 share price, it's about a $30 billion market cap. So maybe at a minimum, it'd be worth $30 to $40 billion. $30 to $40 a share, even if all the future things don't pan out. So to me, I'm okay betting on a $60 share price, anticipating that a Neutron constellation, all these future things do pan out.
And if it does get to 30, 40, and you have those future catalysts that are yet to pan out, that's where probably the opportunity continues to exist. Real quick, guys, we do have one headline from Robinhood. 100 new prediction markets have been entered onto the platform powered by Kalshi. A lot of this is going to be about politics. We do have that New York City mayor race coming up, a lot of different races in November. So it looks like they are expanding the prediction markets, which should be good for them because that tends to be a money printer for that segment of the business. All right, let's bring on the newest FinTwit/finance YouTuber in the ecosystem of our community. Ladies and gentlemen, on a Friday market close with Mr. Matt Money. What more can you ask for in life? Matt Money and the Milkman on a Friday.
I got to tell you, I was sitting backstage, and when I obviously can't see the screen because I'm driving, I heard Matt's voice. I'm like, this is going to be a great afternoon after a freaking rough day for me.
Steve, did you get a road milk for the drive home?
That road coffee with some milk in it. And you know what's funny? I went to Starbucks and I ordered it with half and half. Like, we don't have any half and half. I'm like, all right, whole milk's fine. I started laughing to myself because of whole milk.
You know, you should be getting milk for the road, dude. Like it's a good idea. Road milk. You know, people get a Red Bull, people get a Monster. You need to get a gallon of milk whenever you take a long trip.
I'm going to have some milk tonight to relax. I'm not in relax mode right now. I'm still
You're not
in
gonna
work
you're
mode.
not gonna have a bourbon. You're gonna have a freaking glass of milk on a Friday.
Yeah, no, milk is more relaxing than bourbon.
I can't imagine putting my feet up and be like, let me just get a nice glass of milk.
I will
It's not-
not do that ever. Like I can.
It
I
is
will,
not just a glass of milk. It's got to be ice cold.
bro. I don't think for the rest of my life there will be a Friday night where I put my feet up on the couch and say, "Let me get an ice cold glass of milk and relax." Like, would anyone ever do that in the chat? Just please let us. Would you actually ever do that? I think Steve's one
Admit,
of one.
I told you about my special cup for Coca-Cola, right?
No.
Oh, I got to get this out and show you guys. I will freaking one night live stream with it. I have a tin cup for Coca-Cola because it gets it colder than a glass when you put ice in it because it just radiates through it. It's freaking amazing.
Of course you do.
It's amazing.
So you're gonna put milk in there now, right? That's the idea.
I see. I there's something in my mind that stopped me from using it for milk. Just tin and milk, just to me, there's a block in my mind. But with Coca-Cola, it is freaking amazing. Amazing.
I love Steve's streams, man. Like you go on, he talks about stocks for about 10 to 15% of the time. The rest is like movies. The rest is like food, and then 30% of it's milk. Like it's hysterical.
No, when Steve starts a hedge fund, it'll be called Milkman Capital Management. That's what it'll happen.
We deliver for you.
We deliver for you. Okay, Steve. So let me get your perspective on what's happened not only today for the rest, but for the entire week. S&P was down 3% last week, recovered most of it on Monday, lost all of it by Wednesday. Now we're up about 0.5% for the week. Regional banking concerns yesterday, China concerns this morning. 2 a.m. I don't know if you were sleeping, but it was pretty ugly if you took a look at your portfolio in the middle of the night. What are your thoughts on what has happened in the markets throughout the entire week?
I don't care.
Okay, outside of the part of you not caring.
That's the same reaction I have when every time he says it when I'm just watching your stream. He's just like, I don't care. I was like,
yeah, I mean, are we freaking worried about a 2% correction or a 5% correction? Because if we are, then we shouldn't be investing in freaking equities.
I get it. No, I don't think anyone's freaking out. I'm just in general, the sort of like wherever you want to take it, regional banks, China, like did any of that stuff, did you think about it? Did you analyze it? Or is it kind of just ultimately not anything that should be?
It's not impacting anything I'm invested in.
That's fair.
I mean, how is it going to impact Meta or Amazon? How is it going to impact NVIDIA? NVIDIA is still over 180. So if we're saying that, oh my God, we're worried about NVIDIA going, so what do we worry about? NVIDIA going to 165 or 170? Most of us have cost bases of 115, 120.
It's true.
So look, I'm looking at this as opportunities to buy more. I'm looking at this as, you know what, we're going to go into potentially the biggest earnings season we've ever had. So if we get a 5% retracement beforehand, if I can get some more capital into the market, I'm happy to do so. And these are things that are short-term concerns, and I don't have a short-term mindset, so it is what it is. I don't have the time to worry about what one thing is going to do to the other over a week. Ultimately, the stuff that I am in, I am very confident in, and it just creates an opportunity to buy more.
Yeah. Look, no, I agree. And I think the theme of today, from my perspective, is the market is exhausted. You had a lot of nonsense run up 10, 20% almost every week for the past 10 weeks in a row, literally. That's why these stocks are up 300-400%, even if they were to take a 20% haircut. And so, yeah, there's going to be names that
stocks that shouldn't have been up that much. Like, let's call a spade a spade. Can any justify Oklo's freaking price? Like, stop. It's not justifiable. It's a greater fool theory at this point because nobody can prove. The only reason Oklo continues to go up is because the Department of Energy tapped them and 2 or 3 other companies for a potential a project that may potentially work. Nobody's saying that these things are actually going to work or that they're going to have the SMRs ready in a timely fashion. I mean, it really could be 5 years or at this point 4.5 years, because they're not expecting to drive any EPS until 2030. Like, they're pulling so much forward that if they go down 50%, it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, well, and that's the punchline. Like, if these names take that big of a hit, will it take the Amazons and Googles down a little bit? Yes, because everything will go down. But 50% on a name that never probably deserved to be here. And not saying it's a bad company, but as you said, call a spade a spade. Maybe it didn't deserve this rich of a premium. That's healthy. That's like that's not like the top is in. That's not people don't care about stocks anymore. That's just, hey, there's some bag holders now, and every market cycle creates bag holders out of a bunch of these names that go.
Yeah, but hold on. Did Open Door take Amazon down when it crashed? I mean, I don't know that Oklo going down matters for any of those companies. It's not part of the S&P, and people aren't freaking selling off Amazon and selling off Oklo at the same time. I think it's apples and oranges at that point. If something happens with the CapEx build out, that's a much different story. But right now, Oklo going down or stuff like that, it just does. I don't think it matters.
I would agree. I would agree. Matt, any thoughts on this regional banking issue? I don't know how much you've had time to look into it, but do you think private credit should be any concern for us to keep an eye out on?
I haven't done as much due diligence as I want to be very honest. So I'm kind of curious to hear what Steve thinks. I mean, I was looking at some regional banks, very small, right? Less than $1 billion regional banks in Pennsylvania around where my mom lives. And they looked pretty healthy. But at the same time, I don't think it would take very much if, unfortunately, several of these people were to unfortunately lose their jobs for the banks and the loans which those banks really hold on their books to start really hitting some issues. So Steve's probably much more well-read on it than I am. So I'm kind of curious to hear the milkman's thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, well, the question is, you've analyzed banks for a very long time. Yesterday, 2 banks, regionals, said they had, I don't even want to say credit issues, but they said they had some crappy loans. Then we had 3 banks this morning say their provision for credit losses were way better than expected, which is why regionals rebounded. But it gave the market a little bit of a March 2023 moment to an extent. Do you think we should be concerned about a credit crisis based on some regionals showing some bad results?
Some regionals showing bad results is not reason to think that this is 2022 all over again, where you had the regional banking crisis. I mean, there's going to be even more reason for the Fed to cut now. They may even get more aggressive early next year. And I need to, which regionals was it? Do you know off the top of your head? Was it Huntington or Truist?
No, those were great. It was Zions and Western Alliance.
Doesn't matter one bit.
Yeah. I mean,
Truist
Truist had a phenomenal earnings today, and that's the 7th largest bank in the country, right?
The big thing to worry about is this the stepping stone of what's to come over the next several years if we have employment through expansion and efficiency with robotics and AI? And are smaller companies going to be able to compete? And that's a whole different side of it. Right now, 2 regional banks showing a little bit of concern is not something where I'm too worried, especially since the majority of banking is done with the big money centers and the big regionals. And the big banks were not showing any signs of concern at all during earnings season. So right now, it's not something I'm worried about.
Yeah, I did have the chance to look at the large banks, and I don't think I've seen a stronger quarter from a lot of them. They're well capitalized. So, I mean, if you think about it, kind of going back to what you said about 2023, Amit, does this feel like analogous, and does this feel like it's kind of a start of this again? I guess the big concern would be is if the big banks weren't in a position to be able to absorb some of this. Because if you think about what happened after First Republic and SVB had their issues, their credit basically had to be bought up by the JP Morgans of the world. So if everybody else is on bad footing, then I'm kind of where Steve is at. I don't think it really matters unless you were to say have poorly capitalized Wells Fargo's, poorly capitalized Citis, poorly capitalized JP Morgan's, poorly capitalized Bank of America's, but you're not in that situation. So even if there is a point where some of these poor loans or bad assets have to be absorbed, they're going to be absorbed and well absorbed by these larger institutions. So I don't think that we're in such a bad spot. And to be very frank, I think any of these companies that are struggling right now, hopefully they'll get some relief. Some of these regional banks will get relief as we start to cut interest rates. And, we already did cut once, just last month, and hopefully 2 more times before the end of the year. And then hopefully a couple more times throughout next year. Hopefully that gives them a little bit more headroom on some of these assets that they're holding on their books that were kind of tarnished. So I don't know, maybe it's a wait and see kind of game. Maybe if it dips into the beginning of 2026, that's a different story. But even still, it seems like that the large institutions are fine enough to absorb anything that I've kind of seen so far.
Yeah, and I think we would have to see continued weakening in the regional banks to think this is like a structural problem, and today just denied that. So again, it's not like this market doesn't have its own different things that pop up that could make people worried, but until the data shows a trend that justifies a lot of that worrying, it's just hard for money to stay on the sidelines if they know that the Fed is ultimately going to be cutting rates. There's Steve's YouTube right there in the chat, folks. You can subscribe to that, and Matt's YouTube as well. You can give him a subscribe. Steve, I'll ask you, I'll give you the first word on this question. Speaking of banks, is SoFi a buy here before earnings?
I mean, I'm not buying. So it's hard for me to say that, super bullish. I think earnings are going to be great. Look, we all know the story. It's more frequent than not that SoFi does a triple beat. When we say triple beat, they beat on the top, they beat on the bottom, and they raise guidance, and the stock pops in the morning, and then it sells off 5 to 10% by the end of the day or the next day. Is that going to happen again? I have no idea. I think it's something that's interesting if you want to try to play something that normally has a pop in the morning, but I mean, long term, I think it'll do well. It's something where you have the PSUs, so they need it to be 35 or 45, depending on what tranche you think it's going to get to. So depends time frame and whatnot. I mean, I'm not personally buying more here, but I think it's going to have a very good quarter. And rate cuts are super bullish because you're going to have people refinancing on student loans. You're going to have housing market come back. So there's a lot of catalysts for them.
Matt, you buying here before earnings?
I did pause. I was doing bi-monthly buy, so I get paid the 15th, the last day of every month, and with that, I was siphoning off a portion of my income to always buy more. I paused that about 2 or 3 weeks ago to put it elsewhere. I just think that I'm not bearish on the stock. I don't think it's going to go back to $6 or anything of the like, but I just think that it's run a little bit too far, and there's just other places I want to put my money right now. Now, if you were to ask me, do I think it's going to be higher in 2 to 3 years? I would say in bear, or if there's not sort of large macroeconomic recession or anything like that, I think that SoFi will continue to do well, and I think it'll continue to climb in terms of the top banking institutions in the United States. So I guess it really just depends on somebody's time horizon, right? If you're looking specifically at this quarter, it's kind of a gamble. You've already run so much this year. It's been a great performer. I mean, it feels like just believe it or not, just a couple quarters ago, we were talking about it below $10 and being excited that it hit 15, and now people are not happy that it's not $30. It's kind of astonishing how much it's kind of grown. So, but yeah, people think I'm biased because of a $500 bet. It's not that big of a deal. I have enough SoFi that I've already gained that in some, so it's not too much of a deal. And And I think Tevitz and I both agreed that whoever wins, we would spend it whatever trip we're on. So
It's about the bragging rights, bro. That's what it's.
it's about the bragging rights. Yeah, it'll hold an eternity. And I think I have it in my public portfolio. I think.
Yeah, I think you and Chris might have it. Oh no, you have it in the stock draft. Oh, can we talk about that, Steve? Why is your performance so bad in the stock draft?
I actually haven't looked at it in a while.
Just straight up just calling him out. Like, what?
Dude, Steve, you suck, bro. Like, let's call a spade a spade. Bro, you're up 6%.
Dude, check out Broadcom though. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, Steve's up 40%, but he's down 16 on him.
In all seriousness, when is the stock draft over?
June 20.
Yeah, we got a lot of time.
Okay. So I got Q3, Q4, and Q1 to make a comeback. I got 3 more earnings reports. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, but a lot of your stocks suck.
I wouldn't have chose MicroStrategy, bro.
I took that on a flyer. That could, yeah, but there's so much time. I just need a couple of weeks. Like, in all seriousness, that could come back in a matter of 3 weeks.
I think you picked a portfolio that will make sure you're definitely not negative by the time this is over. I just don't know if it's a bull market again. I don't know if it beats Matt or me or Tanner because we just have too many other high beta names that'll propel it forward, you know?
Yeah, look, I took HIMS because I wanted to deal it because I thought other people wanted it, and I should have dealt it to you for Apple, but I was holding out for something else. That backfired. And MicroStrategy was something that I thought if Bitcoin really did well, this could really fly. And look, if Bitcoin goes to 150 or 175 by June, MicroStrategy could end up being a 40-50% winner for that.
100%. That's true. That is correct.
So there's still, we shouldn't be counting that out. And the other ones that are down, I'm not sure. I'm not looking at
Salesforce and PayPal.
Salesforce, I'm not worried about. I'm very worried about PayPal. Salesforce can make a run to 300.
You know, PayPal made a $300 trillion mistake yesterday.
No, but I mean, I'm not surprised.
They printed 300 trillion of their stablecoin, and they quickly erased the mistake. I mean, it wasn't really their fault. It was their issuer, Praxis, that had it. But like, still, it's kind of wild to print 300.
What's wrong with these people? What is wrong with them? Like, can they do anything right? Like, come on.
Dude, 300 trillion is 100 times or 3 times more than the amount of dollars in circulation.
Yeah, we'll just add a couple of zeros for fun. See if anybody notices.
Just bang the keyboard a bit.
Just bang the keyboard. So the chat, 76% of you are saying S&P 7,000 by end of year. I know Steve's answer. So Matt, yes or no? S&P 7K by end of year.
If you asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would have felt a lot more confident.
So would I.
Yeah. But I think that I still say yes, because the companies in which that are propelling the S&P 500 forward are still on great financial footing. You don't need the speculative companies of the world like the Oklos and many of these other quantum companies that I think might unfortunately hit some headwinds. I don't think that those are going to be the ones that are going to be involved at all, right? None of them are in the S&P 500. None of them have revenue or income enough to be entered into the S&P 500. That's not a hit on them. This is the fact of the situation. So I still think that there's a lot of revenue to be realized from NVIDIA's of the world. There's a lot of revenues to be realized from all this capital expenditure that's been going on in the Mag 7. So I still think that you get a nice warm gust of Santa rally at the end of the year, like we generally always do. And I could see us touching 7K. Do we have to end above 7 or just touch it?
Yeah, no, we got to end December 31st.
That's a little tougher.
Steve?
I think there's a chance.
I mean, what am I supposed to do? Say we're not?
It's up to you. You're the one making a call here.
And I made the call before anybody else.
Oh no, we got it. You remind us that every time, but I'm asking
it's
you now.
It's not like I can go back on this. You know what I mean?
No, of course you, dude. These analysts do it every single day. They switch.
Yeah, that's not right. I'm not going back. I made a prediction, and I stuck with the prediction through the freaking thick of it.
We lost them.
I'm also not saying that it's going to be higher than 7,000. So
no, but look, making a prediction and then getting you data to change your prediction it's not inconsistent. So is there any data that makes you feel 7,000 harder?
And there's no data that makes me want to change my mind at the moment. Now, if we get in Q3, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, and Zuck will say that, you know what? We think OpenAI is wrong. Ha ha. We're already built out the capacity and they're going to waste all this money. Then I'll really get worried. I'll say that we're going to 5,500 pretty damn quick, or maybe lower. But I don't think that that's the case. I think they're all going to come over the top.
Yeah, I would agree. Look, I'll get on the 7,000 bandwagon as well. I mean, I don't think I've ever put out a real. I mean, I think my target's been 68 to 69 for a while. If we get that close, we probably end up topping 7,000 by the end of the year if the momentum is there and the earnings are there.
I have a question for you because I was in meetings legitimately pretty much all day. I didn't even get to see what you put on Substack. What'd you write about?
I did not officially publish. I was actually going to do this at the end. We might as well do it right now. So I'm publishing 2 deep dives today. I wanted to start off with 2 companies. Usually it'll be 2 a month, but we're starting off with 2 companies.
All right.
I have not announced the names of it. I'll put the link in the chat for those that want to get subscribed before it comes out. It'll be out around 7:30, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Everybody should subscribe immediately.
I want you both to guess. I'm not going to reveal it, but what are the 2 names you think I am putting out my deep dive on today?
I mean, I feel like you're going to do Palantir as one of them.
No, hold on. Let me give you some context. I worked really hard on this shit. I don't like writing. Like, I really hate writing. So it really took a toll out of me for the past month to sit down there and freaking write this shit. These are 2 companies that are, I think, very relevant in the broader ecosystem. They are definitely 2 companies that were heavily requested. Not everyone's going to like these 2 companies, and they're going to be annoyed I didn't do it on the other 2, but hopefully over time, we'll get to do everything and people will still value the research itself. And the last hint I'll give is that one is a tech company and the other one utilizes technology.
I mean, every company utilizes technology. That's not the greatest hint.
Yeah, that's a bad hint. But all right, you both get 2 guesses. What do you think, Steve? What are you?
I'm going to say CoreWeave because that's one of the most requested things by everybody these days.
Okay, and then what's the other one?
Another company that uses tech. I mean, you can make an argument that every company uses tech, from an email platform to servers to application software. So, I mean, I don't know.
Take a guess. You got to lock it in. Lock it in.
And for you to say it was hard for you to do it makes me think it was something that really wasn't that interesting to you. So it would have been.
I will say, look, these are the first 2 deep dives. I want them to be good. I picked 2 companies I care about. Like, there's plenty of companies I'll write about that I don't care about too much, but these 2, I do care.
I feel like Grab is the other one.
Grab and CoreWeave. Okay. Matt, what do you think?
I don't. Damn, do you really think it's Grab? I was originally going to say Grab because originally
Matt, he didn't give us the best freaking hints to go off.
I gave you good hints.
But the hints that he gave, man, it seemed like it's not going to be ones that are obvious choices, but the community wants it, right? So and maybe he's using very collective or selective language to throw me off, but my thought process would have been like, it's companies that I really, admire and want to be. So that's why he said it's what the community is more so. So that's what's making me think it's not.
I'll just say one of them is not Grab. I'll just put that out there. So Steve,
yeah, I didn't think it was.
I also already put out a 15-page document on Grab, so it's not Grab.
Yeah, so I didn't think it was going to be Grab after you kind of described it initially before you gave us your kind of thought. Utilizes technology. That's just screwed.
Because any other hint, bro, it's going to give it away. So
I can't wait for him to actually tell us what it is, so we can say what his definition of utilizing technology is.
No, one of them legit utilizes tech. Like, they're intertwined with it. It's not Amazon either, guys. It is not Amazon. Amazon's a little too easy to do a deep dive. It's freaking Amazon, bro. Like, eventually I'll do a deep dive, but it's like, it's Amazon. People know what Amazon is.
Yeah, it's definitely not Palantir either. You talk about Palantir.
I will. It's not Palantir and Hood. I'll say it's not. Like,
shit. What would I feel like I would want to say BMR, but I feel like that's too obvious, and I don't think you'd want to do it. I do like what somebody said, Nebius, and I think that you would potentially write on Nebius, because I know that the companies that you are in your periphery are definitely Nebius, and you've been intrigued by it. And I know it's not something you cover too extensively. So I'm going to go with Nebius.
Okay, one more. It's not SoFi, guys. It's not. It's not so.
I'm using the chat. The chat's going to lead me to greatness.
I will say a couple people have mentioned it, but just a couple people have guessed it, both of them. Not, I mean, the majority of people are picking names that are not for this time.
Oh, let's go Duolingo. Screw it.
So Nebius and Duolingo. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it'll be out at 7:38 p.m. and hopefully people enjoy. And
you're not even going to tell us?
No, it's got to be a surprise. You
got to subscribe. Why would you tell us? It ruins the subscription. And then people are like, oh, I don't care about that company. Why would I subscribe?
Look, there's going to be a bunch of people that don't care, but I want to build a Substack where people are willing to read anything because they're intellectually curious. And I think that's also the culture of Substack. Like the culture is people are willing to take a chance on an intellectual journey and read something new for the sake of the research that it provides, not because they're just curious about the ticker, right? So I hope that's the community we can create. But, you got to put out good content for that to happen long term. So, all right, it'll be out in a couple of hours and we'll go from there. There's no paywall for those saying no, there's no paywall. It'll be free. Everything will be out for everyone for free forever. What else? What happened? What else happened this week? I mean, I think it was a relatively outside of the market going up and down.
You had some pretty big news this week.
I mean, what, the OpenAI stuff with Broadcom? That
and TSM murdering earnings.
Well, yeah, that's true.
And because that sets the stage for the next 2 weeks. Or at least not this.
Oh, that's what we should end off on this. Okay, so next week. Let's do next 2 weeks. A little bit of a preview. We're not going to touch on every company, but Steve, what do you think big tech is setting up for going into next week?
I think murderers beat on top and bottom line. Like not even small. I think murderers. Like I think they're going to absolutely destroy.
All of them?
I think that you're going to see Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud not be able to keep up with demand. I think you're going to see big CapEx spending. I think you're going to see a lot of cash from operations. I think you're going to see Apple have a very strong Q1. I think people are underestimating the iPhone cycle. I think big tech is setting up for good things. I really do. And I think NVIDIA is going to come out saying that they hit $30 billion in net income. They can't keep up. Not that they can't keep up with demand, but every chip is basically accounted for. I'm not seeing it after going through the TSM report. There's no reason not to be super bullish on those companies.
Okay, I'm gonna put a poll right here in the chat, and dude, YouTube needs to give us more than 4 options because it always makes these polls so hard. But the question is, which out of these 4 have the best earnings objectively, not just stock price reaction, but which one do you think crushes it out of the park? We're going to go Meta, Google, Amazon, and NVIDIA. I just can't put the other 3 because I don't have the poll. But
again, when you do that, are you doing it on YouTube or stream?
No, YouTube. Okay. YouTube has to optimize more for streamers because we need these results. But let's give it to you, Matt. Which one out of those 4 do you think will objectively have the best earnings?
So I think Google and Amazon report at the end of the month, right? So they report on the 29th and 30th, I believe.
Isn't it Apple, Amazon at the end?
You might be right.
Yeah. It's usually Google, Meta,
and Microsoft.
Yeah.
But regardless, I guess date's not important. If we're talking about the rest of the month and just earnings in general, I think Google will probably have the most I don't know. Nvidia might come up with a surprise, but I feel like Nvidia, with where they're at now, I think unfortunately their margins are going to get hit a little bit because they need to entice people to spend more. So I feel like they're going to have to cut margins a little bit to be able to make it a little bit more affordable. So I think Google, because of their operating margin expansion associated with the cloud business, and it's growing at such an alarming rate comparatively to the rest of their, their search business and YouTube business, etc. I think that's really going to help play a huge impact to their bottom line. And so you might not see a large top line growth number associated with it. I still think you'll see north of 20% growth from cloud. But as a group, I don't think you'll see, in the 20% range. But I believe because of the large, expansive margins that you have in the cloud business, it'll drag the net income margin up substantially for the entirety of the group. So now that you've, over the past 18, 24 months, really hit ops cash positive on the cloud business, it's really just, getting as much in revenue as you can versus Amazon and Microsoft. Not that they're in bad shape or anything of the like. I just feel like they're more mature on the cloud space, and their businesses have already kind of been on that cycle. So I don't know, just cautiously optimistic that in terms of bottom line growth, not necessarily stock performance, but actually company performance, I think Google's net income will probably show up better than everybody else's. But I could be humbled by NVIDIA, just with how much capital expenditure year over year has been implemented.
Steve, are you going NVIDIA?
I don't know. I mean, I think NVIDIA is going to crush, but I got something that you're not going to like. I think Microsoft's going to have a great freaking quarter. I really do.
Okay, so let me do a poll for the last three. So the last three are Microsoft, Apple, and Tesla. Still good to put those three together. I mean, would you say Microsoft is potentially the best one?
Out of those three, I think so.
Actually, we'll just do another four. So we'll do Microsoft, Apple, Tesla, and then we'll put Google in there. I mean, look, I think Microsoft, because they freaking started disclosing AWS run rates, that's not easy to do, especially for a company that never did. I mean, the fact that they were so comfortable doing that, and all these, dude, some of these startups, I don't know how much you guys keep up with the startup news, but there was a company today that raised $135 million seed round. Not Series A, not Series B, seed round. And they're a foundation model company. They're not competing with like Anthropic, but they're one of these foundation model companies that's out there. I mean, the amount of...
Speaking of private companies, Amit, did you see the headset or the helmet and glasses that Lucker Palmer Lucky showed?
Did you see Lucker Palmer? He just had an Amit moment. No, he just had a full-on Amit moment. You just committed an act.
Did you see the clip?
I didn't see the clip. We could.
I'll send it to you. It is incredible what they're building at Anduril. Incredible.
Lucker Palmy, I love it. No, but going back to your point, Steve, on this private stuff, like all these private companies, when they raise hundreds of millions of dollars from VCs, guess where they're going to? Amazon, Google, and Microsoft to run their AI workloads.
Yeah. So that money's actually getting spent because it's freaking capital they're raising. So it's not like it's phantom capital. Now, if those companies actually survive is a different story, but that doesn't matter for freaking Microsoft. They're still paying.
Correct. They are still paying. And so that is something that could be a tailwind as well for the hyperscalers. Here's the clip Steve was talking about for Palmer Luckey.
It's wild.
This is a new product that we just announced at the Army's conference yesterday. We've been working on it for years, using our own money. No taxpayer dollars were used to create it. It's called Eagle Eye. And it is an integrated ballistics shell. So you've got a helmet, you've got hearing protection, you've got thermal sensors, night sensors, signals intelligence sensors that allow you to detect where cell phones are, where radios are, see that in your view. It even detects where gunshots are, shows them exactly where they're placed and how far they are.
So this is the This is a recreation of it. So this is like
this is a video feed of what it is like to use the system. So I've got the helmet on here, and then what I have is this pair of augmented reality glasses. So basically, I can take these glasses and I put them on. These sync with the helmet and with these sensors. So I can, for example, see where my gun is pointing. I can see where every enemy is. I can see where all of my buddies are. I can see, so like there's a view that's coming up here where you're going to notice a drone picks up a guy behind that container over there. And what's going to happen is when he walks behind that container, I'm able to continue to see where he is and what he's doing. So here's Ghost X is the drone that's watching. So just watch for a moment. So the blue force is my friendlies. So see that little right-hand corner where it sees behind the containers? They're tracking where the bad guy is. They're tracking where my guys are. And then watch when they go behind the container. So I can actually see through it and watch. Now they're engaging the guy over there and he's down.
Wow.
Imagine a guy's coming over a hill and I want to engage him. So actually I'm going to put on the mission shield. There we go.
What?
So this is a system that allows everybody to basically be operating as one combined hive mind where you can all share a view of the world. And by the way, this view that I have, it's shared now with all of the robots as well. So anything I see, like let's see I see someone inside of a building, every drone and every person now sees that person where he is.
All right, so what is it going to 500 billion? Where's Andrew
I
going?
gotta tell you, what they're building is incredible. And if this company goes public anytime soon, it's going to be bigger than Lockheed.
Did you just say Lockheed? Did you just say Lockheed? No.
All right, everybody, have a good day.
Everyone heard that, right? He just said Lockheed. It is Lockheed Martin.
Yes,
Mr. Milkman.
It's been a long day. It'll be bigger than them. It'll be bigger than Boeing. I mean, this will probably be $500 billion company.
I don't even know what to say. That shit's wild. It's some Call of Duty shit.
Yeah, they're going to be the sole supplier for the military with all this new tech. And then when you add, they're working with Palantir. I mean, this is going to have huge implications for Palantir eventually.
So, I want to talk about Anduril every day if Steve's going to mess up this much on words. I mean, let's do this every freaking day. That would be
I love Anduril.
Look, here's the thing. So I know one person in the chat, our boy Dougie. He has a $50,000 investment. I think he got in at 20 billion. Doug, correct me if I'm wrong.
Is Dougie in the chat?
Dougie is in the chat, and
ask him how Confidence was because he said he started watching it last night.
Doug, let us know how Confidence was. But I mean, put in the chat if you have any exposure, like directly or through an SPV. Don't tell me Kraken Robotics. I know that's like the only OTC way, but outside of that, like, is anyone else having exposure to it? And I mean, Steve says $500 billion. Matt, are you buying day one when they go public, regardless of valuation?
I don't know about regardless of valuation. That might be tough. Maybe a little, just because of what they're doing, and I support it. Kind of like with Palantir, right? I support the mission, I support the vision. So, I mean, I feel like in that respect, I feel like even if it loses money, quote unquote, if you're thinking about market cap irrelevancy, then I feel like I have to at least get involved somehow. But even still, it might be just one of those things that trades at such a premium valuation, regardless of whatever it is, just based off the fact that it, at the moment, looks like it's going to be bigger than Lockheed.
I think that Anduril could pull a snowflake and have a ridiculous pop right out of the gate and start to teeter off maybe. But this is something I want to own, regardless of valuation. If it's a crazy valuation that doesn't make sense.
No, but Steve, so they just raised that like 40 billion. What's crazy for them going public? I mean, without knowing the numbers, what do you think could be crazy?
I mean, if they just raised at 40, if they go public at 100, that would probably be a little crazy.
No, but that would be, dude, the VCs would expect them to go public. So that, I don't think
that's,
I think 150 to 200 is crazy.
I don't know.
At 100, I'd be buying in.
At 100, I think everyone wants in, to be honest.
Yeah.
My fear is that it's going to be north of 100. My fear is it's going to be like 300, 400.
It could be.
Okay, well, here's the other concern about I was about to say Lockheed, about Anduril. What if their margins suck? At the end of the day, they sell hardware, right? So if we're talking about business, like, what if they're just not or they go public and it's, they say we're going to be profitable in a few years, but then they turn a profit and it's not like a Palantir type of profit with 60% free cash flow margins. It's a profit, but like, is that a concern at all?
You know what the good part about them selling hardware is? They sell hardware to the military that's beating up the hardware that's continuously spend more and buy more. So all the drones that they're going to be selling, eventually they're going to have to keep selling more. Helmets get banged up. So the defense budget continues to grow. What's the defense budget at now? $900 billion?
I believe so.
And then they're going to keep coming up with new stuff. They're going to keep innovating. And the U.S. government is going to keep spending more. The allies are going to spend more. So they already have a built-in audience where runway to growth.
My question is, who the hell do you need to short? I mean, I just don't understand. Like, if these guys enter the chat, like, why would you ever? I mean, I know you need to have separate contracts for, the fact that you need multiple contractors, etc., because you can't be reliant upon one. Like, I get that. That's just like a security thing, but I feel like these guys are going to have to steal so much market share from everybody else.
They'll steal market share from who? Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed. It'll probably be a little bit from everybody they're going to steal.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think this will be the most anticipated IPO in history. Well, let's transition to this topic real quick. I know Steve loves Salesforce. I don't know if, Matt, you're a big fan of Salesforce. And we already talked about the new numbers and the 60 billion guidance. But Steve, I don't know if you saw this headline. Matt, I don't know if you saw it either. Mark Benioff.
I saw it. He's getting sued.
No, that's not even the juicy headline. Mark Benioff 2 days ago said the National Guard, Trump should send them to San Francisco.
Yeah, I saw it.
45 minutes ago, he apologized for saying Trump should send the National Guard to San Francisco.
Oh, God. I mean, what's he going to say? What did he say? He was under duress? Like, come on.
I don't have the exact quote, but we do have the headline. I don't think this guy really has a backbone.
You said it. You literally took the words right out of my mouth. You did.
I have respect for the company he's built. He's much more successful than me. But one of the reasons people love Alex Karp is because when he says something, he really means what he says. I mean, Steve, I know you love the numbers on Salesforce, but does this give you any pause of just like, do I really want to trust this guy over the next 5 years? Or
it just makes me more mad at Benioff. It just as what he says in public. First taking shots at Palantir. I mean, I didn't like that. Now saying this and backtracking, I don't like that. I mean, my philosophy on Salesforce has always been, I don't care what everybody's opinion about the software is, because everybody can think that the software sucks. The bottom line is the company still freaking grows and everybody's still using it. So it can't suck that bad if everybody keeps using it and they keep growing. So the numbers make a really compelling argument that it's undervalued. I'm just annoyed with how he is handling himself in public.
I want to take I don't want to say contrary opinion. I think people know, if they watch my Twitter feed, who I'm supporting when it comes to the AI race. And I think that Salesforce is floundering here. But I was initially thinking, I was like, well, I mean, why does Mark feel like he doesn't have the ability to stand on his ground, right? Like, I think you said the word, Amit, like, he doesn't have a backbone. Like, I was like, surely he has enough of Salesforce where, he can do exactly how Karp and everybody else, it seems like, at Palantir operates. But I just looked, he only owns like 2.5% of Salesforce.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I assumed he owned way more. So like when I feel like, the reason why I feel like Karp can say whatever the hell he wants is because he literally is Palantir and he has those Class F shares. Yeah. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, because I was like, why does Mark feel like he needs to appeal to the masses and be on boggy water, or boggy like land and but I guess if you only own 2.5%, your head can kind of be on the chopping block whenever the hell you want. Even though you're the co-founder, like you really don't have as much control, maybe. So, it gives me a whole nother perspective. Like I feel like he's scared for his company. Like, I feel like he feels like he's gonna lose it because of what's going on with Palantir and how he's behind. And so I don't know. It just seems like he's just, every time he goes on the news, he just seems so frantic. And like you said, he's built a phenomenal company, you know, co-founder, and he's done a great job, but it just seems like he.
Well, another headline today was Salesforce says they are ready to work with the U.S. government on immigration services. So I thought these headlines were insane because Benioff, you know, historically has been super to the left. One could argue that the Trump administration policies on immigration are much more right-leaning. And so Salesforce is saying, hey, with Mission Force, which is their new kind of government suite of products, we are ready to help ICE. Palantir gets a lot of shit for working with ICE. And then now he says he apologizes for saying Trump should send the National Guard. So I think you're just getting wishy-washy everywhere. And it's tough sometimes as a shareholder to want to be part of that type of story. This is a quick clip right here of Karp actually being asked about if he believes what he says. And this was his response.
A personal question, actually. As I was watching you give this amazing answer, I thought to myself, do you ever worry about what you're saying? No, I mean this genuinely. I mean, have you ever walked off a stage and said, I shouldn't have said that? Because you have a remarkable confidence. And I was actually thinking, even when we first started doing interviews, probably back in 2010, you would say pretty provocative stuff.
I mean,
where's that come from?
I don't know once I get going exactly where it's going to go. I'll tell you what's really funny, because I barely go out, especially now. It's actually great as an introvert once you're famous. You're like, I just can't go out. Too many people know me. I got to stay home. Can't go out. Security reasons. I can't do anything. But whenever I, on occasion, go out and I meet people, they're like, wait a minute, that's not an act. Like, people are like, people who work with me closely are like, no, it's full time. we're taking days off. But I don't honestly, I really don't like offending people, but sometimes it's necessary. And I really don't. I do legitimately kind of afterwards, I'm like, well, God, somebody was visiting the office and they were kind of I was making fun of a lame company they happened to work at. And I didn't know they were external. I felt a little bad about that, honestly. But then I thought, well, God, someone's got to tell this person, got to get out. So this is like, this is your life. They're like monetizing you. It's like the Matrix. And I believe what I'm saying. And
always like this though?
I'm actually very introverted, and I am kind of shy. But if you put me on stage and ask me a question, then
okay.
But I don't want to intentionally make people like, I felt bad that but I felt much worse if it wasn't true. And I generally believe what I'm saying. And I would, of course, if you're saying a lot of things, you're going to mess up. But I think people understand the intent of what I'm saying. And I would say, I'll tell you one of the great things about this country. People, especially who've joined Palantir or were at Palantir or invested in Palantir, they know I'm fighting for them and our country. And they're willing to see the better side of what I'm saying. Because that part is true. And if people know that, they're willing to, it's like in any relationship, if somebody knows you actually care, maybe they forgive certain foibles.
Just a different person that's running Palantir versus some of the other SaaS names.
But I think he said it perfectly well at the right end, right? Like, as long as people know where you're going and you have you're true blue to your mission and you are very one directional in that and you don't waver, then yeah, you can steer off from time to time, but people know where you're headed, right? So you might say something here. It's like, but I still got to follow the guy. I don't agree with him on that, but I agree with where we're going. So put that aside. We're still headed to the start, but we lost Hot Steve. But if you're like Benioff, like you said, if you're not supporting this week, you're supporting this week, and you're going back and forth, it's tough to get behind somebody like that and truly build momentum.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree. All right, so I'll get a text from Steve and we'll see if he's done for the day. He might be probably just pulled into his driveway. I think that's pretty much it for us, guys. I want to play one more clip that I just found. Andre Karpathy just did a interview. He's one of the biggest guys in AI. Here's a 45-second clip about what he said about Sam Altman. We'll analyze this more on Monday, but this clip just popped up and thought this would be quite interesting.
That you've just mentioned, it's the decade of agents. That's actually a reaction to an pre-existing quote, I should say, where I think some of the labs, I'm not actually sure who said this, but they were alluding to this being the year of agents with respect to LLMs and how they were going to evolve. And I think I was triggered by that because I feel like there's some over-predictions going on in the industry. Yeah. And in my mind, this is really a lot more accurately described as the decade of agents. Yeah. And we have some very early agents that are actually like extremely impressive and that I use daily, Claude and Codex and so on. But I still feel like there's so much work to be done. And so I think my reaction is like, we'll be working with these things for a decade. They're going to get better and it's going to be wonderful. But I think I was just reacting to the timelines, I suppose, of the implication that you've.
So he's basically calling out Sam Altman right there, saying that this is going to happen sooner than expected. And by the way, the other piece of news right here on OpenAI, just a quick headline from Deutsche Bank. Europeans aren't paying for ChatGPT. So flagship product of the AI industry, ChatGPT, is facing a major challenge in growth and paying users across Europe. OpenAI's corporate valuation has reached $500 billion, approaching Netflix's market cap, yet its revenue scale and paid subscriber base are far behind. Deutsche Bank also said there's no doubt AI will change the world and boost productivity, but the path to profitability remains unclear. The real challenge isn't the algorithm, it's the business model. Essentially, as you can see right here on the chart, this is only Europe. This is not North America, but compared to Netflix and Spotify, which are other massive consumer products, Europeans are not paying as much for ChatGPT. So I think in general, that's something that we're going to have to see over this whole AI CapEx life cycle of, is there an ROI? Which I don't think any of us fully can say there will be yet, but if it's not, we're going to have issues. Hopefully it does happen. And as a result, these companies can continue to expand. All right. That is what we got today, folks. I don't think Steve's probably coming back. He just pulled into the garage. So he'll be streaming on Saturday tomorrow. So for those that want to get some more of the Milkman, he'll be live tomorrow. Matt Money, I'm putting his YouTube description or YouTube link in the channel. Matt, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you. No, yeah, it was always good to hang out, and I wasn't bogged down on office work, so just happened to have the opportunity. So appreciate you having me on.
Have you? I mean, I didn't ask you this, but when Rocket Lab hit 73, did you just take a moment to yourself and look back and be like, damn, it really did happen? You called this thing at $4 and almost at 100. Or is it kind of just
I was actually thinking about that, dude. How wild has this been, dude? I literally was thinking about it. I was just like, dude, even it was a very humbling moment. I was sitting, I don't know where it was. I don't know if it was on the couch or if I was laying in bed or whatever. But of course, I was thinking about you. And and Jess, I was like, how wild has this been? How well we've been able to choose these foundationally phenomenal companies that have been you know what, this is going to be a great organization and we can see the future potential in this and we have the conviction we need to get behind it. And I was like, how awesome has it been that you've been able to do so and we were able to find each other through Palantir because of our conviction in that, and then you were able to find something like Robinhood. I was able to find something like Rocket Lab. It just goes to show that if you truly put in the due diligence and think about it, how awesome it is. But yeah, it was a very interesting moment.
That's an important point because we both found Palantir, but then we went in different directions to find our next stock. And just, I think for us as creators, it's really important to kind of say, hey, it's not just the one and done. There's an ability to kind of analyze companies and hopefully find some diamonds in the rough. And with Rocket Lab and Hood, it is a pretty incredible journey to be able to get that second one.
Yeah, and I think both of them have great stories, right? Robinhood, who would have thought that wasn't going to be successful? In retrospect, it's dude, it was inevitable, right? And I've been using Robinhood since like 2014.
Yeah.
Like if you think about it, I've had the app on my phone forever. So it's insane to think like what would have gave me pause. And I think it really was the narrative around what happened during COVID and with GameStop and everything like that. I think that painted such a negative narrative for quite some time that, but anyway, it's just, so I did have that reflection a couple days ago, like, holy crap, like it's obviously grown to way bigger than I was expecting, way faster than I was expecting. But just like Palantir, like you get involved and you see a vision, but then you find out more as the founders kind of come up to, okay, well, we delivered on that. This is where we're going next. And so you wait for the second act or the third act or the fourth act of whatever they're working on. And so it gives you thought. But yeah, it's definitely been interesting. It's definitely made me think about my future goals, and it's definitely given me a different perspective on it's given me I don't know if I told you this, maybe I shouldn't say this in front of 4,000 or 5,000 people. It's given me an existential crisis about like, what the hell am I doing with the rest of my life, and figuring out like, am I focusing on, should I continue to focus on the market? Should I just like go lay on a beach for a couple of years? Like, what should I do? But in the meantime, I'm still clocking in 9 to 5 Monday through Friday.
Are you getting the drive to find the next Rocket Lab, and you think the 9 to 5 is taking away the opportunity to focus on that?
No, the 9 to 5 isn't taking away. I mean, I still get the time to kind of do the research, chat with you guys. I'm able to chat with Chris and come up with ideas back and forth. So I feel like it's not taking away too much as of yet. And I still really enjoy what I do 9 to 5. For people that don't know, I work at an oil and gas company and do some management of some of our assets. So yeah, it's a really fun job to kind of know where all the barrels are and everything like that. But yeah, it kind of is just interesting. It's just like, could I maybe live a different lifestyle? And that's where I'm kind of like, I don't mind working and doing what I'm doing, but when it comes to being your own boss and figuring out, am I holding myself back by working for this company instead of potentially doing other things? Could I be helping more people? I think at the end of the day, like, how many people have you met that have been their lives changed by Hood or Rocket Lab or whatever that you met in Miami or just on your YouTube channel or whatever? And it's just like, could I be doing more of that? And that's what I'm kind of like, in terms of like, I've done well enough for myself now. I'm starting to think about the others in which I impact with. And it's just like, could I potentially be really being selfish by not helping others? And it's because of my insecurity about, say, money running out or something like that.
A million different things, right?
Yeah. So that's kind of like an existential crisis that I'm dealing with right now. But it's a bad thing. It's a situation of good, not a situation of bad. So it's not like I'm sitting here.
Steve, we're about to end it out. We were having a deep conversation. You're gonna come talk to us about milk, bro. You're ruining it. Like,
I got my special Coca-Cola cup. I'm not even kidding. Look at this thing.
Dude, that thing's...
It's so dope.
Sick.
Bro, we were having...
Do you have a crushed ice? Do you have crushed ice? What do you do?
You want me to go get some ice and drop it in so you can hear what it sounds like?
Yeah, I want to see that.
We were having an existential conversation. Now talking about stupid ice in a tin cup.
It sounds so crazy. Hold on.
He's not wearing pants. It's way to show off his camera. He's probably going to come back with a drinkable yogurt too. The guy's an animal. I love it.
No, but it is a good point. And like, yeah, I think, calling a name like that can really change your life. I mean, all of us in the chat have experienced, if you really were there from the early days and then you experience a 10 or 20x, Rocket Lab's 4 to 60 is 12x or something like that, a little bit more than that. Like when you experience that, it changes your life financially, but also it, opens up opportunities and stuff. And so it makes sense to kind of And
I
think
the covered calls, like the covered calls on it, like are wild.
Yeah, because once you have such a big position, even if some of it gets sold off, it's like, okay, who cares, right? Like, so. All right, it's a show and tell talent show. Steve, show us.
Are you ready, Matt?
I'm ready, my guy. First and foremost, I'm wanting to. What kind of ice is it first before you put it in?
Cubes.
You don't do the crushed ice?
No, it freaking.
You're
I'm
rich.
a cube guy too. I'm a cube guy.
No, it melts too quick. You can't do crushed ice and
100%. 100% agreed. 100%.
Hold on.
Okay. Maybe it's a new.
Dude, my sister likes to like chew on the crushed ice. I never understood why. Like it's.
Oh, that does sound good. That's some ASMR right there. Maybe Steve's got another. Steve's channel is gonna be crazy. He's gonna be bigger than everybody's. Admit, he's coming for you, dude.
I know.
Like, he's gonna talk about sports. Like I was listening last night. Sports. He's talking about food. Like what doesn't this guy do?
Dude, we're gonna be streaming the Masters in April. We're gonna be streaming every golf major. We're probably gonna do one Yankee game a week. We're gonna do fight companions. Like we're gonna do everything.
AK Media is going to zero, dude. We're gonna be working for SF.
Dude, I'm trying to get a buyout from AK Media.
He's gonna make me freaking acquire this guy just to stay in business, bro.
I know. You're like, he's growing too fast. He's growing too much power.
I'm trying to get a buyout. I'm trying to be like a Mitt.
If I don't acquire this entity while they're young and up and coming, I'm done.
Dude, you're done. You're done, dude.
Matt, you gotta love the freaking.
I love that ASMR on
tin cup from the Oyster Festival. You know what I mean?
There's an oyster festival?
There is an oyster festival on Long Island every year. Yes.
Now you know.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Steve's bigger than Netflix.
No, bro. For a certain subgroup of people, like, dude, there was like 1,000 people last night just listening to him, even after I left. Just like people just like listening to him talk about anything, you know?
You know,
I like listening to talk about everything. Steve's the man.
Somebody that used to work with me, they no longer work at the company. We were at our golf outing one year having breakfast, and they were into completely different things, and we got on a different subject, and they look at me and they're like, how is it that you can talk about almost anything? And I'm like, I don't know. I have a wide variety of interests, and I like a lot of different things.
It's because you've watched every movie out there. That expands.
Well, you know, that could be part of it.
Because you can always reference something that has happened and related to a topic, right? It actually really does help the knowledge base, I think, when you've listened and watched everything.
Did Dougie watch Confidence? Do we know? Did he ever get back to
tonight?
What is it on? Netflix or what is it?
I don't know what it's on, but I told everybody that hung out last night is we started going down the movie rabbit hole, and Usual Suspects came up. I'm like, I know the Usual Suspects is freaking great. I know that it's amazing that the person who you didn't think was going to turn out to be Kaiser Soze turned out to be Kaiser Soze. But trust me, if you like Usual Suspects, there's a chance you're going to think Confidence is a better movie.
Hot Steve, man.
And then I got it. Oh, Matt, you'll appreciate this, all right? Amit, I don't know if he's going to appreciate this or not, but I think you will. Because you like gangster movies, right?
Yeah.
All right. So
I agree with you. American Gangster does not get enough credit.
Doesn't get enough credit. It's on HBO Max. That's freaking awesome. I'm gonna watch.
That is good. I have it, so it's good.
So I made a hot take last night that mob movies can be gangster movies, but gangster movies are not necessarily mob movies.
Truth.
See, this is another reason it's good for you to stream and talk about movies, because you're going to come up with hot takes.
Oh, so many hot. I had so many hot takes last night. Tomorrow's going to be even weird. Like, tomorrow's going to be good because I may actually have a drink tomorrow night and get a little loose.
Oh, I want to see. I will be tuning into that.
I may have a drink tomorrow night and get a little loose. I mean,
you might whip out one of those cigars.
Matt's boycotting the freaking Saturday night stream for some
I'm not boycotting. Maybe I show up. You know what I've been thinking about, actually? I've been thinking about how do I get this room set up so I can smoke cigars on stream.
No, don't do it. You're going to need to put – I already looked into it. It's not worth it. You're going to need a Rapid Oasis system in. It's hectic what you got to do. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. It's
outside.
not worth
Steve, you got to pour the milk in the tin.
No, I just did that for effect. It's not milk time yet. I still got work.
Not milk time. You can't make this shit up, dude.
The chair.
AK Media is cooked, bro.
Bro, what is going on? What is going on, bro? What is?
Oh,
That just
God.
reminded me to freak. You know what? I just got a flashback of kindergarten. It's not milk time yet, guys. Like that really just reminded me of freaking kindergarten. And if you want more of that, there is Steve's channel. Please make sure to subscribe.
What is this?
I feel like we got to end there. How else do we have a better ending? There's no way we can top that ending for tonight. There's no way we can top that ending for tonight.
Milk time definitely needs to be a segment.
I love it.
It needs to be an intro music. Milk time with Steve. Just
yes.
Man,
All right. That is it. That is it for today. Are you guys doing anything tonight or just chilling at home?
Yeah, FinTech Frenzy.
Oh, yeah. You do. So it's Tanner's birthday.
I know.
So,
I already called him.
Yeah, I found out in the morning and we wished him live. So I'll be tuning in. That'll be fun.
So FinTech Frenzy, and then Saturday night stream with the boys tomorrow, and then Alternative Asset Weekly on Sunday.
Oh, you're doing it every Sunday?
Gotta stop grinding.
Okay, there we go. So that your weekend then, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I think Alex is going to come on, and I got somebody else that's going to come on, I think.
I love it. Let me know in the chat, what are people doing over the weekend? It's been a hectic week, but overall stocks ended relatively green. So not too bad for all the stuff everyone had to deal with.
And confidential right now.
So FinTech Frenzy
it's always what do you say?
No, somebody asked what time tonight. 10 p.m. tonight. I'll put a link out.
Wait, you're streaming? Oh, for the FinTech friend. Oh, yeah. Your Saturday stream is wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be 9:30.
It's always nice to end out a Friday with a Matt and Steve stream. It doesn't happen every Friday, so I cherish them, but it's always nice for a Friday end of week close with Mr. Matt Money and Steve.
We got to get Matt out more, you know?
Steve's the man.
No, Matt, I heard you on Steve's stream, I think like a couple days ago, saying you're going to come to New York. So if you come through, dude, you got a place to stay.
Yeah, seriously. When you come, I'm taking the two of you out. So,
yeah, that's the hope. At some point.
If you've never seen Christmas in New York, I feel like you should come during December. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I definitely have some time over Thanksgiving and definitely Christmas time. So, and especially if I rent a car from my mom's place, New York's not too far. So.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
And bro, you don't have to pay for a hotel. I got you here. If you need a weekend or 4 or 5 days, whatever you need, I'm here.
Live in the skybox.
Yeah. And then you guys come in, let me know what day you want to come in. And, you know, Amit and I will scout out some places. I got a good idea for where we're going to go. I got a good idea of where I'm going to take the two of you. So, good stuff.
All right, folks, that is it for us. Matt's YouTube in the chat. Please make sure to subscribe. Steve's YouTube in the chat. He will be live on Saturday. So you can subscribe to that. And then at 7:30 to 8 p.m. tonight, my first 2 deep dives, I'll have a tweet on it as well, will be out tonight. And
I think that you should do a live stream and actually read the article out loud.
Okay, no, I'm not doing all that. But the point of this is not for it to be audio, and the point of it is for people to actually read it. And you know, there's dude, I didn't realize how big Substack.
Dude, you can name it Story Time with Amit.
No, we're not doing Story Time with some milk and cookies. That like,
I mean,
he has a point though. Some people like listening to your beautiful voice.
It could become an ASMR thing with Amit.
No, but dude, Substack gets 125 million visits a month. Like, I didn't know it was that big. And then I looked at the leaderboards and stuff. There's people that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers that read their, like, I'm not that big of a reader. This is my first foray into it professionally. And I'm like, this is a massive ecosystem for people. So
is Patty McCormick still big on it?
I didn't see him in the leaderboards, but I do know that he's had a big Substack for a while.
He had a big run before.
I don't
know if he's still big or not.
All right. That's what we got. Thank you, everybody. Deeply appreciate it. I'll be back Sunday for the futures. Steve will be back tonight for FinTech Frenzy, and then Saturday. And then Matt, we'll probably hear from him next week on Cashflow Chronicles as well, and we'll keep going from there. Why are you what? All right, that's it for it. Dude, I'm like Steve. It's hard for me to end the stream, but Steve is a different level. He will end it like I will end it maybe 35. Steve will go 2 hours after he said he was going to end it. So
Trump is live. Sometimes I think people just say stuff to get you to stay. Like it's just
Listen, tomorrow
they just
night,
throw
I'll
a grenade. They're like
play-
low risk, high reward. If we say something, he'll stay.
Tomorrow, I plan on going to like 2 a.m.
of course you do. Of course. You like it. No, it's cool, dude. It's cool. You're building the initial early phases of it. So it makes
And
sense.
you know what? I'm going to go to the bakery tomorrow. I'm going to take a walk to the bakery. And I'm not getting a chocolate chip cookie. I'm going to get a black and white cookie, and we're going to test my hypothesis.
You might as well get like 4 or 5 cookies and just review it. If you're going to go that long, you might as well just do
No,
like
we're actually going to do a full supermarket review of cookies where I get every packaged cookie for chocolate chip cookies and get her done. But, you know.
I don't know if my heart can handle that.
The first and last bite from a black and white cookie are the best if you do it in a certain sequence. Because there's only 2 times you can actually get the chocolate and the vanilla in the same bite.
Only an expert would be able to say this. So, there you go. All right. Thank you, everybody. Deeply, deeply appreciate everyone who's joined Market Open, Market Close for the past week. Deeply appreciate everyone who has either subscribed to the Substack, Matt's channel, Steve's channel. We all do this, for the love of the game, and it is really cool to build a community online with a lot of people and to have genuine friends build it together. I mean, it's not fun doing this by yourself. So being able to do it with friends really, really means the world.
Your chat is freaking amazing.
It's basically your chat too. So
your chat is amazing. Oh my God.
Yeah, there's like 17 comments trying to say
Drake is live.
Wait, what comment got you? What comment got you?
Drake is live.
All right. That's it. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Call Steve. Dude, that's the #1 thing they say before I'm about to leave. It's either Trump is live or call Steve. But like Steve's right there. So all right. Thank you, everybody. See you guys later in the weekend. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.